Hello and welcome to my market closing live stream. Give me just a moment here to get my windows set up here. And all right, there we go. So let me just let everybody know I am here. And all right, so fairly eventful day. The indices the last time I looked were attempting to do something at close. See if that continued. And it looks like we sold back off a bit. We'll see where this goes over the next few minutes. And let me grab this. Go. I'll tweet it out. Okay, great. All right, so a couple of stocks I mentioned in the opening live stream and for my options watch list did pretty well today. So first I want to talk about DDOG, and then we will review some option flow and kind of see where we are. All right, so my little cybersecurity section here. I had watch listed Net. Net had a good day. I'll go over those triggers in a minute, but DDOG was the one in the sector that I had profiled at open, and it did great right from the jump. And so I was really happy to see that. I did enter a quick scalp, couple contracts, and sold off one. I'm kind of on the way up. Kept a runner, stop loss at entry, and walked it on up. Did the same thing with Net. Net, I had an automated order based on my triggers, and let me call those up for you. So my Net trigger was 54.48. So when it had this pop and open, this is where I had entered that, and you see it kind of came back and retested a bit, and then went on up from there. So and like I've said with the triggers, you can play it a couple ways. You can just you can scale in, especially if you were to do next week's contracts. You grab one, and then if it pulls back to the trigger, you can grab another one. If it were to fail completely here and just hit your stop, then oh well, on to the next one. But this did actually do really well. Kind of charge back up. One of the things about Net that that really caught my attention was actually in the dark pool. And let me see here. Yeah, so I said I remarked yesterday about 7 p.m. I've never seen this much dark pool volume on Net. Doesn't mean it never happens, but just added some conviction to what I was looking at today for a bounce on it. And DDOG had a similar setup, so I was kind of on both of those. But you can see when you look back at Net on the hour chart that it had this big run on, I guess that was, on Friday. Had this huge move of almost 20%. Really gave that all up all week. Sold off with the market and got right back down here to 52, which is where it had been, or thereabouts on this kind of double bottom here. So it was a pretty safe area to be thinking about trading it, and the flow on it was good enough to warrant putting it on my options watch list. And then from there, with the dark pool volume, it worked out for me. So that was good. Another one that I had mentioned this morning is in industrials. It's plug, and keep scrolling past it. I think here it is. Okay, plug. All right. So what did plug do today? Currently up 4%. Had moved up, significantly higher than that. And this was a good example. It had this spike at open, and then this pullback. Lately in technology and technology related stocks like EV chargers, when they spike it open, they do tend to give some of that back. And then what you're looking for, the way I trade it, is whether it's going to test some of these pre-market and after hours levels. If it completely just collapsed and broke through all of this, I wouldn't really be that interested in it. But when it shows some life, you can enter calls on it and try to catch a scalp, and leave a few runners. The contracts are cheap enough to do that. So it did very well. Last night on my market closing live stream, I mentioned ChargePoint. Same deal. My take on the EV chargers is that you don't really have to try to trade all of them, but you just pick one. Now, Blink is one that really has not been as good in the sector lately, but FCell, Plug, ChargePoint, all have done well. And I want to give a little shout out to Beam as well. Didn't really do as much today. They had earnings, but again, they dipped and then had a decent spike from 14 to 15. So that actually is a pretty good move on it. Another one to consider. And yeah, so that was just a kind of preview of some of my some of the stocks I've been looking at and been interested in. And here we're getting a sell-off on QQQ into close. Not entirely surprising that would happen given market conditions. But if you scalp QQQ, like I do sometimes, it didn't really like this whole price action here. I don't like to enter when it's given these kind of candles, this indecision. It did offer a opportunity at open to short it or to play the run up if you're brave enough, and then dipped, and then kind of came back up. You certainly could have entered down here. I did not, but once you got later in the day, there were definitely some opportunities, and I entered around here. I entered puts, just thinking that with the RSI a little hot, it was likely to sell off a bit, and hit a good trade on that. If you're doing near term expiration contracts, I go small on those, and you can get a really quick 30-50% gain on it. You just don't want to be too greedy with it as you consider your positions. Okay, so that's QQQ. Now let's get into the flow a bit and see what's going on. So like I mentioned, I like to look at live flow alerts into the close just to see what's going on, and see if anything jumps out at me here. Been seeing a lot of Ross today. wonder what's going on with them. So they have earnings after hours. This is going to be interesting. I would watch. I'm not inclined to really play that, but it has a lot of relevance for me for the sector. I do play M a lot, and I think I mentioned this one at Open or the Open live stream. M had a nice rally today, and has held on to that a bit. The Ross earnings will impact M tomorrow, so if you trade M, that is something to think about and consider. See if M had any alerts in here today. Quite a few, and as you can see, mostly we had some bearish sold calls, and then into close a lot of bullish activity. So that's interesting. Cisco, I can look at Cisco, Zach. Let me see what's going on with them. All right, so Cisco, if we look at just on today's, a lot of sold calls, mostly bearish. Get into the live flow. Might need to adjust my filters here. And no, okay. So 19th is coming up. That's good. And Cisco. Yeah, mostly bearish on Cisco. So not looking too good. Let me see what the stock did today. Yeah, so it had that steep drop on earnings and is kind of floating around this zone here. In terms of a level, if you're wanting a reversal on Cisco, what I would probably want to see would be sold puts probably around 40. I'd want to see a big push in those, and we'll see if Cisco has anything like that going on. Okay, so Cisco, COPE is slightly divergent, and put to call ratio is pretty ugly. You'd want to see this around 0.7, maybe the highest like 0.9 to have some optimism about a reversal. And again, with a stock pummeled on earnings like this, you're going to have to wait for the dust to settle a bit before you see anything like that. So yeah, so mostly bearish activity. The weekly put leaning a little bit bullish. So if the market is favorable tomorrow, I think that it's certainly possible that Cisco would get some kind of bounce, some kind of recovery, even if it's just 3 or 4% or something like that. That would be good. But I'd want to see a lot of activity on next week and into June. Sold puts in the 40s, some calls getting back up towards 50. That would give me some confidence for a reversal on Cisco. And okay, so Oxy. All right, so Oxy, we're seeing calls over 70 again. Oxy had a nice rebound today, and just the one there, and then in the flow we've got. You're welcome, Zach. Okay, so into the close, all the contracts in the last hour have been bullish on Oxy. I'll probably watch list Oxy again. I do it almost every day, and it's a stock that gives you a lot of opportunities. So if if you're cautious at open and want to kind of wait things out for the first hour, you can see we had this pop and then consolidation, dipped back here to 62.95. My triggers on Oxy were 65.13 and 63.23. So okay, so 63.23. It you can see, and again, this is not an exact science or anything, but it rejected this put trigger for the most part. So that that's promising. I mean, the triggers, when they're basically they're like pivot points for the stock. They're not necessarily always an indication that it's going to go further down or further up, and especially with the sell off in pre market, that put trigger can easily trigger you for calls once you see it fail, especially on a stock where I'm kind of bullish going into it. I am a little more hesitant to just enter right into puts without some firm confirmation. And in this case, we didn't get that, and we got the calls were the better play on it, as it made a run back up to 65. So it's selling off a bit, and we will see if what it wants to do tomorrow, and then we'll we can check the overall flow on Oxy as well. And like I said, a lot of bullish activity into close. These July contracts are not the worst idea if you wanted to swing Oxy. It's not the best market for swinging stocks, but swings in oil have been working pretty well. So that's something to consider. And I'll have some triggers on Oxy later. We can see within the sector that oil recovered some today, and a couple of them, like Devon, has sold back off a bit. But you got to look at where they came from this morning. So Devon was sitting around $67 and rallied all the way back up to 70. And so for these two stocks in particular, for Oxy lately, 65 is an important number. It's trying to break through and hold. 70 for Devon. For ZOM, it's 90. So ZOM dips under 90. You can usually catch a run back up to that. So it's really all just about learning the sector, learning the individual stocks, and finding some key levels in the flow really can serve you well. So ZOM, great stock to trade. I don't trade it a lot, but certainly something to consider in oil. And it gets really heavy volume, which is something that you do want to see. Not no live flow alerts today, though. All right. So go back out of this, see what's popping in here. Gold. Talked about gold in my closing stream yesterday, and we can see the gold stocks did very well. So gold, AUI, sand, all over 5% today. Silver did good as well. AG and EXK are the two silver stocks I like. And just to give you kind of a sense of where these are at right now. So they had a good day, but we're kind of a long ways off from a real sustained reversal on these. So what I would look for in AG, I want to see calls at 10 in June and July. And gold, I talked about yesterday as 20 being a level I wanted to see it defend. It did that today, and looking for a run back up, from like to 22 to 25, and we'll see what happens there. A lot of promise in gold stocks, though. I'm definitely starting to get bullish on those, thinking that it's getting to that point where you can enter a swing on it, as long as gold stays above 19 or so. So anywhere around 20, I like ads on gold. It sometimes takes a little patience. X, I mentioned X as X under 25 has a lot of appeal to me. Had a decent rally today, and we'll see if X had anything. All right, so X, mostly bearish alerts today in the live flow, and see if X had anything pop up in here. Nothing today. Okay, so I'll be keeping an eye on that, but I do like X around here, and looking for a reversal back up to this area here. Good stock for day trades as well. And basic materials on the whole had a nice day. LAC is definitely one to consider. I don't know when we're going to see anything around 20 again on this, and we'll see if we can catch a run. I mean, this was a pretty extreme upside move. Tested 40. We can see 40 is a kind of a key level of resistance. It would need to break through that, but all the way down here, we're not really even thinking about that at this point. But kind of looking for this area, this 24 to 31 zone. If it can reestablish itself here and defend this 25 level, I would have a lot of optimism that it's going to go higher. Lithium, in general, is essential for batteries, and it's not really going anywhere. So, as a company, LAC is pretty well positioned, I think, and we should see some decent movement into summer on it. All right. Let's take a look at the alerts. See what's popping up here. Always interesting on a Thursday to see what kind of lottos the whales are wanting to enter. So I kind of look for some 520 contracts. Let's see what we got today. So we got an Amazon put, heavy volume, trading around $300, 2050p. Certainly could happen if the market feels like selling off. Lucid, this is a bet on a pullback on Lucid, and we can see Lucid had a nice run today. Both Lucid and Rivian did very well today, and they actually they held their gains. Both of them resisted the market sell-off pretty successfully. I swung some Rivian overnight for that reason, and it did really well at just kind of from the gun, just took off. I sold too early. I think I sold at this initial pop here, and it was a lotto. I maybe should have kept some, but oh well. Okay, so Lucid, Rivian, definitely two stocks that I would keep an eye on. If you trade Tesla, we are down here at this 700 level is an area where it's been bouncing, and it dipped below that in pre-market, and then we saw what it did at open. Rejected here at 730 and never really reclaimed that, but did bounce again. So when it gets in that 700, between 700 and 710, you can kind of watch the chart volume and price action and scalp it. It's not for everybody. It's a big stock, expensive contracts. So not something where, like, I personally would load like 5 contracts and scale out or something. I might just play one if I'm inclined to play Tesla, but I do play it at times. All right, and back into here. Paramount is one that I've mentioned that has some potential. It's been given kind of new life by its the investment Berkshire Hathaway put into it, and we can see here it took off at open. I think I mentioned this one yesterday as having some potential, fairly cheap contracts, so one to consider. And so Pepsi and Coke. I had watch listed Coke. It didn't really do much today, but it didn't sell off much further either. So it's been trying to defend this 60 level. So it looks like 60 is going to be a key level for Coke if you do trade it. If we get a favorable day on it, move from 60 to like 62, I think is certainly more than feasible. So entering Coke or scaling into it, or even buying shares around 60 isn't something that's likely going to bite you very much. I haven't seen a lot of attempts to push it much lower than 60. I mentioned that at open, and we'll see if that panned out throughout the day. All right, so yeah, we can see the weekly, the 59p is actually a bullish contract, so they're selling that. 5750p is a bullish sold put as well. 60p is bearish, but again, we're not really seeing a lot of push out of the money on puts on it. So we are seeing some attempts. I mentioned 62. The 62 contract for tomorrow is it's kind of a pretty big lotto, trading at like $3 or $4, but I think you might want to push that out a bit, maybe to next week or something. But anyway, so that's kind of the story with Coke. I'm looking for it to defend this 60 level. All right, so let's take a look at the options dashboard, and I'll tell you what jumps out at me here in a couple of sectors. All right, let's go down to down to technology. And again, when you do all caps technology, it's going to be pretty much all Apple. Apple's going to define a lot about what kind of day we're going to have tomorrow. So if you do trade Apple, there certainly will be opportunities, likely in both directions. So Shopify had a great day today, and always one to consider on a Friday. And so we had this push back to 400 today, which is impressive. So we're going to see if Shop wants to go further, or if it's gonna sell off. Definitely a stock with some very large gaps ahead of it. So kind of 450. If it wants to defend 400, 450 is the next one. So into next week, that should be a pretty interesting contract. And then 350 probably on the downside would be the target. And I would expect it to push to either one of those. I don't think Shop's just gonna stay flat. Certainly not in this market environment. All right, and we'll see what's what here. So QQQ is yeah, it had sold off a bit, trying to rally some into these last 15 minutes. We'll see what happens on it. All right, back to my dashboard. Square had a very good day. We're seeing a lot of volume into some June 17th contracts on it. We go to the bearish chains. We'll see if Square has some activity there. It does, but not quite as much as we see on the bullish side. So really heavy volume here in sold puts and then calls at 90. This is probably the same person largely, or groups of whales buying those two contracts together. And we can check on that. Square. Here's Square. Let's limit this to some of the big orders. Jump up to maybe 100K on it, not a million. All right, 100K. Okay, so 617.90. Here we go. 5.76 million. So I found the one from the dashboard. It is a multi-leg trade. So what are they doing? So they are buying a call, selling a put at 90, and buying a call and selling a put at 130. So this is a and this is a one day expiration. Kind of a strange trade here. All right, let's look at the profit calendar on this one. Kind of curious what's going on here. Oh. Well, it doesn't want to open that for me. Try again. Nope. Okay, well, that's not going to open. But very bullish bet entirely. I mean, not even really hedged or anything. So so into June, Square can certainly take off. We'll see what's going on. So Square today, very nice day. We saw it try to toy around with 90 if it weren't able to capture that and break through. There's certainly a long way to go. 100 is a pretty key psychological level for Square, and would definitely be an upside target for me. Who knows if or when it's going to reclaim a lot of this drop, but certainly could get back up to 100, and then from there, possibly run at 150 if the market turns around and starts to recover. Definitely, you'll see Square in that 125 to 150 range. But for now, a trade from 90 to 100 would be very nice, and you don't have to do it all at once. You can just kind of trade it along the way if it does actually want to sustain any kind of uptrend from this big drop it had. There was a big opportunity to buy Square over here on this sell-off, but again, there was a lot of uncertainty at that moment in the market, so a lot of people are hesitant to go long on pretty much anything. Can't say I blame them. All right, and I always like to look at the small caps. So Riot and Mara, the crypto stocks. Crypto's been taking a beating, as I'm sure you know. These, had a nice recovery today. Sold off a bit into close, but early in the day, had an excellent run. So we had this initial spike, and then it pulls back, and you could, enter a trade looking for it to retrace based on that. You saw this pattern in most of tech today, where it spiked and then gave it back and kind of retraced. So there were definitely some opportunities there. So Riot, Mara, those are two stocks I certainly would be looking at. For Riot in particular, move back to 10. So I'd want to see some calls in the 9 to 11 area into June, into the summer. If crypto does have a rally this summer, you're going to see these stocks go with it and move up at least like 30-40% from where they currently are. So it's a swing might be kind of dicey, but certainly they'll offer day trades. They'll offer 4 to 10% intraday moves several times. So certainly that's something you can look at. Okay, now into some other sectors here. Let's take a look at healthcare. I don't trade healthcare stocks a lot, but do like to keep an eye on them. Veru has been the big volatile stock in this sector. So down 496 today, and if you trade this, you potentially could short it back down to $8. There's not much in the way of that. I'd want to just kind of see the flow on it. It's let's check out the bearish contracts on it. All right, so Veru, not really seeing a lot that here that is pushing it too far out of the money, but these December puts that are at the money right now, you see whales entering that, looking for it to pull back, and nothing quite that overwhelming on the call side. So I think that if Veru cannot break $16, it's going to fall back down. That would be my initial impression on it. And bid caps. Novavax had a very impressive day today. Had leaps on it out to 105, which is well beyond its current price. Currently sitting at $58. So Novavax, a lot of range, 12% today. Certainly could pull back. Very volatile stock, but that's some flow to watch for sure. And something else that jumps out at me here are the weed stocks. So Tilray, CGC. See how the weed sector did today. Really good week overall for weed. And so we've got Tilray. Yeah, I mean, as you can see, Tilray really has a lot of potential to get back into that 5-6 range. Gave up a lot of its gains from that run up to 8, but certainly could charge back up again. And so 4 to 8, yeah. So Tilray, definitely one to watch, one to have some levels on. Pretty safe ads, especially around 4. I think it should defend that. All right, Chinese ADRs. Let's take a look at these. Definitely a lot of potential for these into tomorrow, and we can see a lot of them had a really good day. These tend to move pretty large on Fridays, so that's definitely something you're going to want to watch. I will have some sector notes specifically talking about these, and I'm going to make a YouTube video on Chinese ADRs as well. They are excellent day trade opportunities, and you just want to learn a couple of them. So a lot of people trade Neo and XPEV. Those are a couple EV plays. The PDD has been actually outpacing their gains a bit, and we can see PDD's been in this range for quite a while. It's kind of consolidating here, so would look for a move to 45 and a breakout above 50 in good conditions. Billy is one that gets a lot of flow as well. Here's my light. So that's one I would watch. Let's see if Billy actually had anything going on today. I'll check on a few of them here. I think for Billy. Check on Baba. A couple hits today. 92, sold call at 90, or a purchase call at 92, sold call at 95. And well, I did have this set pretty high. Get this down a bit. All right, so Baba, you can see that intraday, as we got into the afternoon, a lot of activity on it, mostly centered on the 27th, so into next week. So that is intriguing for me. Favorable put to call ratio at 0.33 and a favorable chart as well. Just to see here. I mean, closer to 80 be better, but could definitely see a run to 90 plus on this in the short term. So we'll definitely be looking at Baba. Bidu and SE have been a little more lively. SE had a big earnings beat, kind of consolidating in this zone here. My target on SE would be to get it to 80 and break through that, and that would open up 90. So certainly possible. I'm bullish overall on the Chinese stocks. They do tend to run and then pull back significantly, but I think there are a lot of opportunities here, and it's a sector I study and trade a lot. If you like a small cap, DD is one to look at. They have a vote coming up on delisting. It's not actually a vote to delist, but it's a vote to vote on on whether to delist. So I think that's tomorrow. So DD is one I think you want to keep an eye on. Could definitely offer some momentum trades. I think you want your trades to be sort of quick with DD or with these Chinese stocks in general, but a lot of opportunities. Decent overnight lotto on a Thursday as well. So I know you have about a minute left to buy that if you want to, but you can just wait till tomorrow and kind of see what they do as well. Okay, so thank you. This is my my market closing live stream. Watching oil, looking for some continuation out of stocks like DDOG, Net, Crowd, that cybersecurity sector. Very interested in gold stocks and to see what they can do, and steel as well. So X and CLF. I'll be on those. So in Discord, I will have my sector notes up. I have this Chinese ADR video I'm working on. Should be up today or tomorrow, so you can watch that. And I will be back on again tomorrow morning for my market open live stream. So everybody have a great day, and I'll see you in the morning.